Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Playing to Win Practitioner's Insight. I am Tiffany Bova, and I'm joined by my amazing, incredible friend, Roger Martin. Welcome, Roger.
Hey, it's great to be back. Great to be doing another one of these with you, Tiffany.
Yeah, listen, this is our 5th show. So if some of you have not seen the prior 4, we are going through a sort of waterfall conversation of the amazing insights and work that Roger's put behind his very famous book, Playing to Win, and also kind of how it connects to growth IQ and what I'm hearing and seeing. So it's really a discussion for the two of us, me from a practitioner side, Roger from an advisor and academic side, but just really because we like getting together.
Like I say, in the modern busy world, you got to make excuses to do things together or it never happens. So this is a great excuse.
Absolutely. Well, this conversation, OKRs and strategy. So OKRs, objectives and key results. You know, the prior shows have been talking a lot about strategy. What is it? What's the difference between execution, strategy, and planning? What's the difference between those two things? The whole winning aspirations and where to play and how to win and all those frameworks. But the next stage of that, I think, is how are you going to measure it? And we could go back to the adage of, you know, a very famous quote of you can't manage what you can't measure, which I'd love your opinion on the source of that and how it all sort of came to be. But before we dive into OKRs, actually, I'm going to take advantage of that. You know, if you can't manage what you can't measure, is that really the right approach?
I think it's a good adage. I'm not actually sure who actually first said that. I think it was Einstein, but I'm not sure who said not all things that you can measure matter. And not everything that matters can be measured. So which I think is a nice cautionary tale, which just says that measurement is good, and if you can measure something, I think you have a better chance of working your way toward it. I would just say that my caveat is there's some things that aren't sort of, if you will, perfectly measurable, and they they still you have to pay attention to. So you can't, I don't know, measure the love you have for your child or your mother or your spouse. That's not measurable in any kind of very concrete arithmetic way, but you still have to pay attention to it. I think in the world of business, because business is kind of complicated and having a whole lot of people have to work together collaboratively, it's measuring more rather than measuring less, or measuring more variables rather than fewer variables is an important and helpful thing. I guess that's the way I would say it. And given that everybody's been listening to the 5 boxes, I think that measurement systems are in my 5th box. They're part of the enabling management systems for any company.
And I have to say that there's sort of 2 things I want to kick off here. One is the measurement, for sure, and then OKRs and sort of the history of how we got here, and then what we've learned about them over the decades that they've been around. But I would also say that this is where I see a lot of gaps. You know, when clients come and they ask for advice, like how do we do something, right? We want to grow the business, we want to launch into new markets, we want to get closer to our customer, whatever the goal is. And then I will step back. I used to just say, well, these are here are the 5 things I think you should do. And now I don't do that. I actually take a beat and I say, tell me what you're measuring today. Like, tell me what, metrics you have or what is driving the behavior. Because we know that has some indication of where people are focused and where priorities are for the company. But then there's a lot of metrics, if you will, that are not even, meaning some parts of the company have one, other parts of the company have others. And so that diverges priorities. And I think it would have impact on strategy, for sure, on execution. But when it comes to planning, I feel like people don't do the hard work of going, what are the 3 or 4 metrics or OKRs or management systems we want to lean in? And why do you think that is?
I kind of think that people have a certain impatience to them, and they are trying to go to the end too quickly. It's sort of like, well, if we had an incentive system that kind of measured how much they sell, we'll sell more stuff, and let's go directly to that, and can be impatient in saying, hey, like, what would actually make our product more saleable? What about it is truly distinctive? If we kind of set up those conditions, guess what? Salespeople would be able to sell more of them and actually meet their quotas or targets or whatever. So I think it's maybe not a rush to judgment; it's a rush to kind of something very concrete, which I can understand why people want to get to concrete things. I always want to get to concrete things, but you have to be a little bit patient at doing the hard work up front that will make your concrete things more valuable.
So why do you think that, OKRs did well, then kind of didn't do well, or why people even still rely on them, right? They call them all kinds of things, right? It might not be OKRs. Yeah. KPIs could be metrics, whatever it is, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it's not so much that they used to work and they don't work anymore. I think it's more people like, Andy Grove is famous for having used them, kind of used them very intelligently, and then they became a thing, right? And what happens when a business concept becomes a thing, everybody spends 2 minutes on it and thinks they're an expert, and then it explodes. And so I think from what I can tell, the usage of them just isn't as smart and productive as I would like to see, and I see this as a big Silicon Valley thing, which is or tech sector more generally, but where the belief is that because Andy Grove did it and Google does it, it sort of should be almost spiritual. It should be a religious artifact, and the belief is that if we give somebody, if you're my boss, Tiff, and you deploy an OKR to me, the assumption is because I have an OKR, right? I have an objective and a key result that's laid out, I will be more likely to have that happen. And I don't believe that basically for a minute. The question is there a strategy behind that OKR, right? Is there a reason to believe that is actually, that objective is, and the key results that go along with it are actually, feasible? Are they likely to happen or not? And what I see happening all the time is I see senior executives that are all disappointed, and they say, well, we've deployed the OKRs to everybody and they're just not meeting them. And it's because they're not executing, right? They're not trying hard enough. They're not being thorough enough. And I kind of look at them and look at the situation, and my diagnosis is those are hopes and dreams that have no basis in reality. You've got an inferior product that you're trying to sell more of at higher margins next year versus this year. That ain't going to happen. It would be nice. Well, believe me, I believe you, it would be nice, but it ain't going to happen because they're not grounded in a strategy that makes them sensible. That's what I see a whole lot of. I don't know if you see that too, Tiffany, but that's why I am not so keen on OKRs, because it's almost like it's a magic tool. As long as we deploy it, as long as you convince me that and often it's you order me because you're my boss and you just say this will be your objective and I'm going to measure you this way, they think that's accomplishing something. And it often,
well, I think, as you get higher in the organization, you have a little bit more sway, right? Like being like, okay, hold on a second, right? Yeah. You've given me this objective and this is going to be the metric. And here are the 5 things I would need in order to be successful against that objective. And that goes back to the planning side of it of, right, what is the plan to actually reach that strategic goal? And this is what I would need and what I'd have to do in order to execute it against it. And I sort of felt that way about balanced scorecards as well, which maybe for another day. But, I felt the same way, where is that a false positive of you're really heading in the right direction or not? And, if a client came to me and said, we're going to grow our business by 30% year over year, I'd be like, it's great, right? It's a hope. It's an aspiration. I'd be like, tell me the 5 things you're going to do to get to that 30%. Are you hiring more salespeople? Are you, doing are you launching new products? Like, what are you doing that's going to drive that growth? It's like, no, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. And last year we grew 10%. So this year, hold on, 30. I think 30 is a good number, right? And you're just sort of like,
that would be nice. Yeah.
It sounds great. And then everyone is held accountable. And so back to your point of, it's your boss and telling you, you're kind of like, okay, I would say arming yourself with understanding what the mechanics are in the execution of getting to it, being able to achieve that goal, right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't know that as an individual, then you can't, I don't mean pushing back in a challenging way, right? I mean, pushing that in an informed way, right? Of, hold on, we did 10% and this is what was in place. These are the things we uncovered. We started to see some lift here, and here, but I'd need to cut back on this or that to free up time to focus where we're seeing growth, like have a little bit of an understanding of the business. And then I think you can start to measure the right things to make sure that when you are, well, I guess, let me ask, when you start to see something in the OKR or in the metric, right, that is going, oh, hold on, it's starting to soften. You're seeing a signal. The OKR is telling you something, or the metric is telling you something. You should adjust.
Yes. And I like the direction you're taking it, Tiffany, which is, and here's sort of the way I think about it from the strategy standpoint. In some sense, O is aligned with the top box, and then this choice cascade, winning aspiration, right? An objective and an aspiration. Enabling management systems and KR are aligned, right? But those are the ends of the choice cascade, the top and the bottom. And if you've got nothing in between, your OKRs are going to be junk. And the questions you said you would, if it was you in this position, I'd ask a question. All the questions you asked are middle 3 box questions, right? Which is if your boss sort of deploys to you something where he's got or she's got an idea of the O/winning aspiration and the KR/ enabling management systems, but nothing in between, then having that conversation and says, well, seriously, like what is our theory of where we're playing and how we're going to win and the capabilities we have that will actually deliver what we want. And so I just it's when you just have the 2 bookends at either end and no meat in the middle. And it's interesting, what was your first instinct, Tiffany? I think your instinct was, I need to know the meat in the middle. And I'm 100% with you on that. And I would have no objection, because in some sense, key results in enabling management systems, having a system of measuring and knowing what your results are, that's a good thing. And it's in both models, winning aspiration and a sensible objective. Great. As long as I would have no objection with an OKR that was based then on having a where to play, how to win, and capabilities that made it more than a fantasy. But that's what I see. I just see lots of fantasies and kind of a belief that because everybody likes OKRs as a concept and as a sexy concept, they say, it must work.
Well, I wanted to show this because you said sort of the 3 boxes. So for those of you who missed the previous shows, right, it was kind of where to play, how to win, what capabilities, right? I mean, that's what you're talking about. And this what management system, this sort of OKR at the end of it, but always coming back to the beginning, right? One is you're sort of cascading down, you're coming back. So the aspiration of I want to grow the business 30%, or I want to enter a new market, and then, or I want to grow the business 30%, where to play, We need to go to a new market. How do we win? Well, we need to be more competitively priced or whatever it is, right? What capabilities? We need partners or a better go-to-market model, or what capabilities do we need to actually execute this? And then at the end of that, how are we going to track it and make adjustments? And then we start again, right? Okay, now we know something, and maybe it's, okay, we're not going to get 30. We're going to get 30 here. We make it 20 here. We make it 15 here. And then it's where to play, how to win. And you just keep going again and again through the cycle, right? But I think that ultimately the, let me flip to the OKRs and the sort of 5 boxes, right? Those 3 in the middle, and how they play together. Do people wait? Should it start at enabling the management system, and then you're sort of, or do you go winning aspiration and work your way down and then you get the OKR? Because I feel like some people will start at the metric and then kind of back into it versus.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and that is problematic. If somebody loves OKR as a system and doesn't want to drop it, I would say the following in answer to your question, Tiff, is I would say think O first, right? But not KR. Just think O. Write down your O, and we're going to call that, the first box. You've done the first box. Then come up with a where to play, how to win, and capabilities that would give you the right to achieve that objective. And don't stop noodling around on that until you can say to yourself, hey, that is a reasonable likelihood of me being able to do that. And then go to KRs, which is in the enabling management system box in my view, and only set your KRs after you have established that this is a plausible strategy for achieving that objective. So I'd split up. I don't make it OKRs, make it O and KRs, but there's a bunch of work to do in between the two. And as you said, you've got to loop around. If you have an O, let's say you're 30%, and there just isn't a where to play, how to win, must have capabilities that you can find to get your 30%, loop back and say, well, we could do 20, and then and that's your objective, and then you have key results that are consistent with that. So these 5 have to fit together, and it's OKRs are useless if you don't have anything between the O and the KR. And I'm just saying it's those 3 boxes that you need to have between them. And I suspect Andy Grove, because he was an awesome business person, had very clear where to play, how to win capabilities that existed between his O's and his KRs. And I would say, if I were doing a regression analysis and ask which was more important, the O and the KRs, or the where to play, how to win, must have capabilities for Intel during the Grove era, it was the where to play, how to win that did it. He had a unique, powerful strategy that made Intel a giant of its era.
Well, you have people that are listening to this, right? Have listened to the others. We've now tied this together, right? The waterfall, the 5, the middle, how they all play, the OKRs. And if they're listening to this and they go, gosh, we're in the 3rd or 4th month of the year. We're coming into Q2, or we're in Q2 at this point. The OKRs are set. I feel like I'm not going to hit the OKRs, right? Or I feel like they're not the right OKRs, or they're not the right metric, or I'm seeing the signals. And maybe I'm not an executive and I'm listening to this, right? I'm the recipient of whatever it is I am directed to do. How would you, I'm going to do this 2 ways. One, what would you recommend to the recipient of it when they see something and they don't see their way forward to hitting those objectives? And then the second side of that coin is they do have the ability to actually change the objective because they are the one pushing to the rest of the organization. What can they do to change? So 2 sides of that same coin. Sure. First, let's start with the individual, if you will.
Yeah. What I would say to the individual is I would diagnose what it is about your where to play, how to win capabilities, the middle 3 boxes, that is causing you to fall short on the key results. So the objectives, you know, the key results. They've been assigned to you, deployed to you, the 3 boxes. And I would go to my boss and say, with the 3 boxes the way they currently are, we're not going to make the key results. Sorry, but here is my recommendation on how we can change those 3 boxes to give us a better shot at it. Now, your boss may say, shut up and go back to work. And then he or she will have to wait till Q4 to figure out that, you know, the canary in the coal mine was slumping over in the first quarter, and he was made aware of that, and or she was made aware of that and ignored it, and then you get what you deserve from that. Hopefully the boss would say, well, that's proactive. It's first quarter. That's not the news I would love to hear, but it's better than hearing about it only via crummy results by the time of the third or fourth quarter, when there's nothing I can do to salvage the year.
Well, I can tell you, I've done that.
Have you? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So the story is, right, it was like the first day of the quarter, and I literally said, we are not going to hit this number.
Yeah.
We're not going to hit it. This is why. You can do with it what you want, like change something, not change something. But I'm just telling you, like at the last day of this quarter, don't come back to me and go, you didn't tell me we were going to miss it. I am telling you right now, we're going to miss these numbers. And here's why. Because when we built the objective 2 quarters ago, I had X and Y at my disposal. I no longer have X and Y. I have half of X and I have 10% of Y. But you've left the numbers flat, right? You've kept the budget or the forecast the same. And so I'm telling you that I can't achieve what you've asked me to achieve with half and 10% of what I started out with. That was built, the model was built in order to accommodate, you know, the revenue that was going to be asked of me. And so I did that. Like I did and I wasn't an individual contributor at the time. I was running a division, but I still received. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And they didn't listen. And sure enough, right, this wasn't that I was right and they were wrong. It was that I was the canary. Like I saw the signals. I didn't know how we were going to be able to do it. Even if everyone on my team had 150% or 200%, we weren't going to get there. And we know people aren't going to hit 200%. Right. So ultimately I was like, the math doesn't work. Not all of a sudden do a human being used to deliver, let's say, $1 million in revenue just tomorrow because that they're going to deliver 2.5 million.
Because the KRs. Oh, suddenly the KR is going to make them a 2 million person.
Right? Yeah. And so that was my my experience. And then so now you're going to say, now I'm actually somebody who could have changed that, right? So someone comes to them and tells them this is happening. I am the canary. I'm telling you, we're not going to get there. Or on their own, they realize they're not going to get there, right? So either way,
it would be go to the 3 middle boxes and say, question 1: could I keep the O and the KRs by switching the middle boxes? How would I switch them? Expand the where to play, contract the where to play, raise the how to win, invest more in the capabilities, whatever it is. Do that first. And if the answer is yes, just get on with it and do those things. If the answer is no, then I think the more prudent thing to do is to revisit the O and the KR and say what O and KR would be consistent with our current where to play, how to win capabilities boxes, right? Just ask that question, and then say, and let's say the desired O is 30%, and you say the current is going to give us 10%. Then ask the question, well, could we get any closer to 30 by making changes in the middle box? So I would just go at, in some sense, those middle boxes to say what tools are at my disposal, at my level, whatever level I happen to be at, to improve the strategy to make possible better, higher O and better KRs.
Fair enough. Well, once again, too little time, too much to talk about. But Roger, for our 5th show, I feel like we're kind of getting in a groove.
I think so. That's fun.
So thank you, everybody, for joining. Put your comments and questions down below. We'll be sure to get to them as soon as possible, right on the tail end of this. Hard to answer at the same time, but do know we will jump in there. pay attention. In 2 weeks again, same time, same platform, we will do our 6th show, which is going to be being too busy means your personal strategy sucks. So that's going to be our next one. But thank you, Roger, for joining again on our wonderful show, Playing to Win, Practitioners Insight. I'm Tiffany Bova.
I'm Roger Martin.
Thanks. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.